Hello there, I'm Margit with Play Tennis Practice Yoga.
And I'm Michele with inTENNSity Fitness.
So basically we're going to talk today about why the warm-up is so essential and this problem that we have as coaches where we're not necessarily getting the message across as far as why the warm-up is so important.
And we know, Margit, and I know from my experience, I've spent most of my career training and educating coaches around the world. And it's always a big challenge for our tennis teaching professionals to get the client to do a proper warm-up. And we often just bow to them and what they think they want, when really it comes down to most people don't know what they don't know. And a big part of warm-up is, of course, injury prevention, right?
That's right, that's right.
And how many people do we see out on the tennis courts with things on their arms, braces on the knees, lack of mobility, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of that is a buildup of not warming up, non-athletic performance, but a lot of that can be overcome through proper progressive warm-up sequences, correct?
That's right. I mean, we definitely need to start from somewhere. We definitely hear about the ailments, or if we suggest, hey, let's do such and such warm-up, sometimes we get a little pushback as far as, well, my knee or my ankle. And that's exactly why we need to do these things. Right. Even if we start with little baby steps, I think it's important at least to make it known that this is part of the lesson, part of the private lesson, right, the group lesson. You know, it's our job to educate, you know, the students. They're coming to you to learn what they don't know. Right. So, you know, it might be a little bit of a challenge, but we just need to make this known that this is part of the overall practice. We want to play like the pros, right? So we definitely have to prep like the pros. And I'm so happy that they're showing this more and more on TV as far as what the pros are doing before they get out on court. You'll see these pros are in full sweat before they even come out onto the court these days.
Right. And a warm-up it's intense, okay? Meaning, when at the end of a warm-up, the individual should feel like they did something, or, oh my goodness, that was just the warm-up. Because think about our sport. Think about how dynamic it is. Think about how forceful it is. So we have to do everything we can to prepare the mind and the body to do this particular sport, in this case, tennis. So I'm just going to touch back on your comment about our clients. They want to play like the pros, but they're not willing to do all the work, okay, that it takes to get in there. Now, my clients, because there is not a single lesson, okay, that I do where there is not a warm-up happening. And what they see now, like sometimes, to Margit's point, they'll be watching TV and maybe they see Federer, you know, in the ladder. They see Federer doing some of the dynamic movements. And you know what? They are so excited to see that. It empowers them, and they're thinking, I'm doing that.
Right.
Roger Federer's doing that. Okay, maybe I don't look as good as Roger Federer, and that's okay, right? Because we're not Roger Federer. So in any warm-up, there are really 3 key things that we have to hit to get ready to do tennis.
Yeah, and a lot of things before you even touch a racket, right? We think, oh, we're going to grab that racket. No, before you grab the racket, there are things that you need to do.
And again, unfortunately, what most coaches, or many coaches, and I see this in person, they are starting a session, and the first thing that happens is maybe they get on the service line and they do some short court tennis. It's better than doing nothing.
Love my short court.
It's better than doing nothing.
But I know I'm guilty. I could be doing
well,
more before that short court.
we're all guilty. However, I'll pose this question to you: is the short court tennis making you better?
It's better than nothing.
Okay, and correct. We keep going back to it's better than nothing. Okay, but if you really look at yourself, if you look at the client, is it making them better? I'm just talking about straight up short court tennis, tap the ball back and forth. And I'm going to say, no, it's not. Okay, obviously there's progressions. Okay, so if you can't do
There's
that,
a place for it.
there is a place for it. We're not saying never do it. All right,
But it's not the only thing.
it's not the only thing. All right, and so again, there's 3 components to a proper sports specific warm-up. So the first is active dynamic movement. Then we've got catching and tossing skills, because tennis is a sending and receiving sport. And then we have some light hitting. Now, light hitting, you could do short court tennis, but there are so many things out there that are along that realm that are actually challenging the player, challenging their coordination, and elevating the heart rate. So those are the 3. Now, Margit, I will tell you that every single tennis session I do, okay, whether it is a private one-on-one, whether it's 4 people, whether I'm going all the way up to 8 people in an intensity fitness class, they are all going through that sequence. And again, there's this pushback, right? But it's up to you as the coach to educate them on the benefits and to stick to your guns, because we are the tennis professional, and therefore we're educated and we should know what is best for our client to reduce injury.
Yeah, the pushbacks I get are, well, we're in Florida, so I'm already warm. So
Yep.
that's the
Okay,
thing
that's
that
one.
I hear.
Right.
We're wasting time. We only have an hour.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
I'm gonna be tired after the warm up. I'm using up all my energy. So those are just like the most common 3 that I hear.
Those are great. I think you nailed it on the head. Okay, so if I'm tired after the warm up, which again,
That could be telling you something.
that's telling you something, right? That's telling you, okay, that we
Right.
may, we need to train in a different way than we currently are. Yeah, in Florida it's hot. We are warmed up, but we haven't moved the body through the 3 different planes of motion and in a proper way so that we don't get injured. What was your second one? Time.
Yes.
Time. So, we're wasting time. Well, again, there is definitely a fitness component to tennis, and one of the best ways to get better at tennis has nothing to do with technique. Sorry, coaches. Okay, it's about fitness, because guess what?
Yeah.
If you can get to the ball more effectively and efficiently, you are going to be a better tennis player.
That's what I was going to say. You're just using your time more efficiently, because if you're not warmed up, it's going to take you much more time in your lesson to get to that place where you feel like you're hitting the ball well. So, so it's almost like you have to retrain the brain if it's something that you're not used to doing.
Absolutely. And I will say that at the max time frame, we're looking at 10 minutes. Okay, that's a pretty thorough, robust warm-up, minimum of 5. And again, none of these things do you do for long periods of time. All right. When we get into catching and tossing skills, you're doing one activity for maybe 2 minutes. When we're doing light hitting skills, again, you're spending about 3 minutes. I always like to say that anybody will do anything for 15 seconds. They'll actually pretty much do anything for 2 to 3 minutes. The thing with when you're doing the proper activities, which we're not going into, and we have lots of other video that's available about that, but when you're doing these activities, they are so engaging, mind-body, that the time just absolutely flies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased, but I think they're a lot of fun, especially in the intensity classes. Especially if they're things that you haven't done before. I mean, it's just, of course we think the warm-up is boring if the only thing you're doing is mini tennis every single time, because you're not engaging the brain in any way. You've learned how to do that well.
Right.
So the point is to get out of your comfort zone and to do some of these exercises that are challenging.
Right.
That's how we improve.
Because that's where the magic happens. Okay, the magic happens when we get outside our comfort zone and we do things that we don't normally do. So for example, I will, anytime I have a new client, they've never experienced active dynamic warm-up or any of the precautions that I'm going to take them, and I might have them do some very entertaining tossing catching skills. the beginnings of juggling progressions might be one of those. And then I'll always say to them, well, when you woke up this morning, you didn't think you'd be doing that today now, did you? And they're like, no, I sure didn't. And there's always a smile on their face. And there's a smile on their face, why? Because they've learned a new skill. And maybe if they didn't learn it or master it, they were challenged. And then that's very empowering.
Of course.
So Margit, I think we've said a lot about warming up. I will just like to say again to our coaches, stick to your guns. You're going to have much healthier, happier, injury-free, and better tennis athletes if you do proper progressive warm-ups.
Definitely, and I think if it's something that you're excited about, your students are going to be excited about, and it's just forming that habit that this is part of our tennis play.
All right. Well, Margit, thanks for having this conversation with
Thank
me.
you so
I always
much.
appreciate your wisdom. And coaches, just go forward with empowerment, joy, and make sure you warm up your athletes properly.
Thank you so much.